I was somewhere in the middle of the desert when my marriage ended. 13 years. Dissolved with a PDF attachment. The subject line on the email said, "Let's be adults about this." My name is Nathan. I'm 42, Staff Sergeant, 214 Airborne Division. I'd been in Kandahar for 4 months when my wife Becky hit send. Just 3 sentences. She said the paperwork had already been filed, the joint account emptied, and Jeremy, her new boyfriend, was now living in our house back in Spokane. I read it. Once, twice. Then I closed the laptop. No screaming. No reply. No begging. Just nothing. I took a shower in the shared stall, threw on my uniform, and went to work like it was any other day. My mind blank. My face unreadable. That night, lying in my bunk, I finally typed out one word. Understood. No war of words. No desperate last plea. Just clarity. Cold and final. Wilson, my bunkmate, glanced over. "You all right?" Man, I nodded. "Just some stuff back home." He nodded back. That was it. Out here, we know how to leave each other space. But the truth, deep down, I wasn't shocked. You know, some stories break quietly, like the sound of a heart snapping without anyone hearing. But if you've ever stood in silence, holding the pieces, you'll understand why we tell them here. At Voices Stories, we share the kind of truths that don't shout, but echo. Looking back, the signs were always there. Quiet. Small shifts like cracks forming beneath fresh paint. 6 months before deployment, Becky changed. It wasn't anything explosive. No shouting. No accusations. Just space. She stopped asking about my day. Started working late at the dental office more often. Joined a gym. Said it was time to get fit, but she never looked tired after workouts. Her phone had new passwords. Her wardrobe had new styles. And there were new friends I'd never met. Names I didn't recognize. I didn't confront her. That's not who I am. I wasn't the jealous type, but I wasn't naive either. So I made moves, kid ones. Not to hurt her, but to protect myself. I rented a storage unit on the other side of town. Moved in documents that mattered: my birth certificate, marriage license, house deed, all under my name thanks to the VA loan, my mom's silver set, my grandfather's watch. I opened another bank account. Started funneling a small slice of my pay there, not enough for her to notice, but enough for me to not be left with nothing if things blew up. I didn't tell anyone, didn't whine about suspicions. I just prepared, because something inside me, the same gut that's kept me alive in war zones, was whispering, "She's already gone." I met Becky at a backyard barbecue. Summer of 2010. I was home between deployments, staying with my buddy Jason in Spokane. She had a quick laugh. Smart eyes. Said she was almost done with nursing school, but later took a desk job at a dental clinic instead. Le stress. She told me, we got married 8 months later. Back then, she used to say she was proud of my service, though I'm not sure she ever really understood it. Her dad was a bank manager. Her brother, a pharmacist. No one in uniform in that family. She'd ask, half joking, half serious, "When are you gonna get a real job?" I used to laugh it off. But after 15 years, the Army wasn't a job I was killing time at. It was the life I'd built, and I was damn good at it. In 2014, we bought our house. Nothing special. 3 bedrooms. Quiet street. Because of the VA loan, The mortgage was in my name, but I added her to the deed because that's what husbands do. The year after that, my dad died. Snow shoveling accident. Heart attack. 3 years later, my mom passed lung cancer. They left me a bit of money. Not a fortune, but enough to pay off our student loans, enough to make us feel stable. And yet, every time I came back from deployment, Becky felt just a little further away, like I was returning to a play where she no longer remembered her lines. I guess we were both living in two very different worlds, and one of them was slipping out of reach. 2 weeks after Becky's email, I was sitting in the mess hall eating meatloaf that tasted like sand when my phone buzzed. Bank notification. Another withdrawal. Ba shaba. Wu Bei. Gone. I froze. Fork halfway to my mouth. Opened the app. The joint account, $22. 37. Our savings, $47,000 wiped clean. Transferred to an account I didn't recognize. Murphy, a guy in my unit, glanced over. Bad news. I forced a swallow. Just account stuff. That night, I went to the base phone center and called the bank. The woman on the line was polite, professional. She told me the transfers had started small, quiet. Then, right after I deployed, they got bigger, faster, more frequent. I hung up, didn't cry, didn't yell, just stood there. The hallway around me buzzed with life guys laughing, calling home, hearing kids giggle through fuzzy connections. Normal life. Still moving. While mine felt like it had been hollowed out, that's when Wilson found me. Heard from Alvarez you looked like you saw a ghost at dinner. He said, "You okay?" I hesitated. Then told him the truth. My wife emptied our accounts, moved some guy into our house, sent divorce papers while I was out on patrol. He didn't say, "Man, that sucks." He didn't tell me she didn't deserve me. He just asked, "What's your plan?" I didn't have one yet. But that question, it lit a fuse. Sleep didn't come that night. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, my mind buzzing like a live wire. Eventually, I sat up, grabbed my laptop, and logged into the home security system, something Becky probably forgot I could still access remotely. There it was, a strange truck in my driveway, a man I'd never seen before, walking my dog, using my coffee mug, wearing my Seahawks sweatshirt, in my kitchen, the same kitchen I'd spent 2 weeks remodeling during my last leave, and Becky laughing, smiling, like none of this was stolen. Something shifted in me then. Not rage, not sorrow, just stillness. Like when a mission gets locked in, I closed the laptop and picked up my phone. Started a list. Not a revenge list. A logistics list. Call James, Army buddy turned lawyer. Check VA loan terms. Review pension security. Dig up home refinance paperwork Becky once mentioned. Contact Master Sergeant about emergency leave. I didn't cry. I didn't feel broken. I felt focused, calm. This wasn't personal anymore. This was a mission. And I was trained for missions. 2 months later, I stepped off the plane and onto American soil. No call. No warning. Becky had no idea I was back. I checked into a motel under a different name and called James. We met at a roadside diner 10 miles out. "You look like hell," he said, sliding into the booth. "I feel worse." I answered. He handed me a folder. Thick. Heavy. Inside house dates. VA loan papers, joint bank records, and one more thing, a refinance application with my signature. Except it wasn't mine. The middle initial was wrong. The slant of the letters off. Someone had copied my signature. Badly. Becky did this, I asked. Though deep down, I already knew. James nodded. 3 months ago, she refinanced the house, pulled out $330. Nil in equity. Since the VA loan is in your name, your signature was required. And she forged it. Yeah. And there's more. She listed Jeremy as co-applicant. He blinked. She forged my name, stole from our house, and included her boyfriend in the deal. James nodded again. And Jeremy, he's got priors. 2 DUIs and a fraud conviction from 2019. I let out a slow breath. This wasn't just betrayal. This was criminal. What are my options? I asked. James leaned forward. First, you need to decide what you want. Revenge or justice? I thought for a long moment. Then I said, I want what's mine. And I want her to learn what consequences feel like. James smiled. Then here's what we're going to do. I drove past the house the next morning. Jeremy's truck was gone. Becky's car was parked in the driveway. I didn't stop. Didn't cock. Didn't even slow down. That wasn't the plan. Instead, I drove straight to the bank. Met with the loan officer who'd approved the refinance. I showed him my military ID, my actual driver's license, my real signature. Then I handed him the forged document, the one Becky had submitted. The blood drained from his face. I'll need to report this immediately. I understand, I said calmly. I've already filed a police report. That night, Becky texted, Who have you been talking to at the bank? Jeremy said someone was asking questions. I didn't respond. 2 days later, I went to the county clerk's office, filed formal paperwork contesting the refinance due to fraud, declared that no changes could be made to the property without my written consent. That afternoon, Becky called. I let it ring to voicemail. Nathan, we need to talk. The bank called about the house. What are you doing? If this is about the divorce, we can discuss it. Like adults. Like adults. Same words she used in that email from Kandahar. I still didn't answer. James called that evening. The bank froze the funds from the refinance. He said, But there's more. He paused. Your truck? The one still in your name? Yeah. Jeremy got pulled over this morning. Driving on a suspended license? They impounded it. Good. I said, without emotion. James wasn't done. There were prescription pads in the truck. From Becky's dental office. They weren't blank. I closed my eyes. She's been stealing scripts. Looks that way. Cops are investigating. I sat down on the edge of my motel bed. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was unraveling into something bigger, darker, and I couldn't stop it now, even if I wanted to. The next morning, I met with the bank's fraud investigator. His name was Thompson. Small guy, tired eyes, coffee stain on his tie. This happens more than you think, he said as he spread out documents across his desk. Deployed spouse. Someone back home sees opportunity. Seen it too many times. What now? I asked. We've frozen what's left of the refinance money. But then his tone changed. There's a problem. Some of the funds are already gone. I sat up. How much? About half? 146. Ling. I leaned in. Where did it go? He hesitated. I'm not supposed to share that. Technically, Then he sighed. But considering it's your house, your name, your money, fine. He turned the monitor toward me. List of transactions. Multiple transfers. All going to a name I didn't recognize. Daniel Spencer. Who's Daniel Spencer? I asked. Thompson shrugged. Not my department. But I'd ask your lawyer to subpoena records. I called James the second I walked out. Run a name Daniel Spencer. An hour later, James called back. Got something. Daniel Spencer's a real estate agent. Specializes in fast cash sales. Low market listings. I felt my stomach drop. She was planning to sell the house. I said, fast, quiet, behind my back, probably already started. James added, and here's the kicker, Spencer has closed deals before with Jeremy Ryan. My throat went dry. This was planned, looks like it. James's voice was tight. I dug deeper. Jeremy Ryan has a pattern 3 past cases. He gets involved with women whose military husbands are deployed or divorcing. The house gets sold for cheap. Buyer flips it. Jeremy gets a cut. Then he vanishes. And Becky, I asked. James posed. Could be a victim or a partner. I stared ahead at nothing. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was a scheme, and maybe I wasn't the only one they'd done this to. The next morning, I drove to our old neighborhood. I didn't park in front of the house, just close enough to watch. 9:30 a.m. Becky walked out and drove off. She thought I'd be meeting her at Riverfront Park. But I wasn't going there. I wasn't meeting anyone. I was watching. At 9:50, a car pulled up, company logo on the door, real estate agent. Daniel Spencer and Jeremy came out to greet him. They shook hands, walked inside. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. I'd installed interior and exterior security cameras before my last deployment. Cloud-based storage. Still active. I pulled out my phone, opened the app, and pressed play. James, sitting beside me in the car, leaned in. On-screen Spencer snapping photos. Jeremy pointing at fixtures. Gesturing toward the kitchen. Then the audio picked up, will list by end of the week. Spencer said, I've got a buyer lined up. Cash. As usual. What offer? Jeremy asked. Listed 470. He'll offer $420 K. Quick close. No fuss. Everyone wins. And the husband Spencer laughed. Becky says he's making noise. But whatever, he's military. They bark, but they've got deployments, responsibilities. He'll settle just to make it all go away. James was already recording the screen. Every word, every image. I forwarded the video feed to Agent Patel at the FBI with a message, happening now. 30 minutes later, I watched from down the street as black SUVs surrounded my house. FBI agents rushed in. Moments later, they brought Spencer and Jeremy out in cuffs, hands behind their backs. Faces pale. My phone buzzed. Patel. We got them on tape. She said, conspiracy, wire fraud, attempted property theft. We'll need your full statement. Of course. I said, and Mr. Briggs, she added, your wife just pulled up. She's on the lawn, shaking, watching them haul boxes out of the house. I looked toward the yard. Becky, hands over her mouth. 13 years of marriage, standing in the wreckage of her choices. What happens to her? I asked. That depends, Patel said quietly, on what she knew and on what you want. The federal case moved fast. Jeremy and Spencer both took plea deals. Each threw the other under the bus. Turns out, this wasn't just about me. It was bigger. 3 states. At least 11 other military families targeted the same way. Becky claimed she didn't know the full scope. Said Jeremy convinced her I'd been hiding money. Said the refinance was his idea. She just signed. Maybe she believed that. Maybe she didn't. It didn't matter anymore. What mattered was what came next. She agreed to a full settlement, restitution of the stolen funds, forfeiture of any claim to the house, waiver of rights to my military pension, a signed confession about the forged signature. In return, I didn't press charges. 6 months after that email from Kandahar, our divorce was finalized. No fault. Clean break. No courtroom drama. James called me the day the paperwork went through. Jeremy got 8 years. He said, Fraud. Identity theft. Wire fraud. Spencer got 12. I exhaled. Not in celebration, but in release. Then James added, There's something else. The FBI says your case helped them build the full timeline. Those other families, they might get their homes back. Their money, because of what you did. I didn't say anything for a long time. Just stood there, on the porch of my rental, watching the sun sink behind the trees. I hadn't planned to take down a scheme. I just wanted what was mine. But sometimes, doing the right thing catches fire and burns bigger than you ever imagined. A year after everything was finalized, I sold the house. I couldn't live in it anymore. Too many ghosts in the drywall. Too much betrayal echoing off the tile. I used the money to buy a cabin outside Missoula, Montana. 2 bedrooms. 10 acres of trees and silence. A creek out back that sings when the wind gets right. No neighbors for miles. I took early retirement from the Army. 20 years was enough. I'd given what I had to give. Got a dog. German Shepherd. Named him Scout. He doesn't ask questions. He doesn't lead. Started doing carpentry. Small jobs for locals. Porches. Sheds. Fences. Nothing flashy. Just honest work. Work I could touch. Finish. Step back and say, I built that. My pension covered the rest. Sometimes, I thought about Becky. Not with anger. Not even with pain. Just distance. James heard she moved back to Oregon. Working at another dental office. Starting over. I guess I didn't hate her. I didn't really feel much at all anymore. She made her choices. And I made mine. One evening, as the sky turned gold behind the pines, I got a letter, postmarked from Fort Worth, Texas. It wasn't a bill, wasn't the flyer. It was handwritten. The return address was from someone I'd never met, a woman named Claire. Her husband was in the Navy, deployed when Jeremy and Spencer tried to run the same scheme on her. The FBI had given her my name. The letter began, You don't know me, but you saved our home. She wrote about how close they came to losing everything, how it felt like the walls were caving in, how the case built around my story gave them the time and the truth to fight back. I read it twice, then pinned it to the fridge. Some days, when the silence out here gets too loud, or the memories push in too close, I read that letter again. Just to remind myself all that wreckage, something good still grew out of it. The last I heard, Jeremy and Spencer were still in prison. And me, I was still out here, chopping wood, fixing fences, listening to Scout's quiet breathing on the porch beside me. I wasn't trying to rebuild the past. I was building something new. something no one could forge, or steal, or lie their way into, something that was just mine. I don't tell this story to be pitied. I tell it because someone out there might need to know you can lose everything and still come back. Not the same, but stronger. If this story stirred something in you, a memory, a feeling, even just a pause, help us keep sharing voices like these. Just a follow. That's enough. From all of us at Voices Stories, thank you for listening.